This is the Unregistered podcast, and I'm Thaddeus Russell. This is a show about ideas, people, and behaviors that are considered inappropriate, out of bounds, or beyond the pale. The things you're not supposed to talk about if you're a school teacher, a college professor, a businessman, a politician, a parent, a neighbor, or even a podcast host. These are the things you're not supposed to say or even think if you're a good liberal, a good conservative, or a good citizen. Each week, I'll interview a person who has something bad to say. They might be a journalist or a professor. They might be a porn star or a drug dealer. They might just be an ordinary person with an ordinary job who doesn't care about the rules of polite society. I'm not interested in breaking the rules just to be a troublemaker. I'm interested in people who break the rules of conventional thought and to expand the scope of what is possible to say in our society. I'm interested in people who make me think. Some laws need to be broken, and some stories need to be told. This is my interview with a cannabis farmer named Joe. So I'm in Garberville in Humboldt County, California, a legendary place for me and all of my friends growing up in the 70s and 80s, and legendary, I think, for the whole country by now as the weed capital of the world. And we always knew about these hippies with guns in the woods when I was in summer camp up here, but we never encountered any. I never did until now. This is the first time I've met an actual old school OG grower from Humboldt. His name is Joe. We're not going to say his last name. And he's been going legal like a lot of them have over the last few years. But I really wanted to talk to Joe because of what he said to me on the phone the other day. I said, "Do you sure you want to do this?" And you said to me, Joe, on the phone, on my car phone, I was driving down the 5 from Oregon. He said, "I've wanted to talk for a long, long time, but I never could because I was a criminal. But now I want to talk because I'm free. And all I ever did was grow a shit ton of weed." And that inspired me not only to speak to you, but to speak to other people who have had a life like yours, who have finally have the chance to tell their stories that they've been keeping secret from the world and maybe even their families and friends for decades. And so I'm honored and grateful you're here. And I really appreciate you showing up and being willing to do this. And I know there's some things you still can't talk about. But what I mostly want to hear from you about, and I think the audience is mostly interested in, is just hearing what it was like all those years. And you go all the way back to when you were a kid, in Philadelphia. I'd love to hear just, what your childhood was like, what it was like the first time you smoked weed, why you got into this life, why you think, and what do you feel about it? What do you feel about those days back then and how those days and those moments, those decisions changed your life so that you're now in Humboldt, no longer in Philadelphia?
Well, back then you were the black sheep, you were the Antichrist, whatever you want to call it, in school when they're talking about, the fried egg in the pan, your brain on drugs and all that. And I've been self-medicating for a long time because it just was like, for me, it's just been a way to self-medicate at first. I think with ADD or whatever you want to call it these days, like, they offered me all kinds of drugs and I was like, nah, it's cool. I just smoke weed. But when they're fucking throwing you like cops and stuff at 15 and 16 because you're just literally, you're not trying to, you're the kid smoking the weed in the corner where everybody else is getting shit-faced drunk and doing blow, and you're just like, no, and then the cops are just like, I smell the weed. They don't really notice about the other stuff because all the kids do it, So it was, starting out and just, you were always kind of just sticking that guy, and then everybody wants to know that guy, but nobody wants to be seen with that guy, Everybody wants to smoke weed, but they don't want to be knowing who they got it from, who did this, and, and then as the years pass, people are like, if you started when you're 13 and then you're 18, you're still doing the same thing. Like, I wasn't born and raised here. Kids here were growing weed when they were younger. I was fucking working at my dad's McDonald's. I come from Italian undertakers in the city. Like, it's not normal for a kid to have dreadlocks and be Rasta style in inner city Italian neighborhoods.
In Philly.
Yeah, in Philly.
In the 80s?
In the 80s, and then I moved out to the suburbs, and then in the suburbs it's even worse because I stood out in a very bad way, because it was like the suburbs, the city you put up with more because there's more culture. Suburbs, it's like you're in this, like, you have to do this, and it's very cut. And like, so when you're walking down the street, you know, I would get stopped just because I was that dude. Obviously, there's like a bunch of preppy guys and one dude with dreadlocks. It's pretty obvious who probably has the weed, you know. So you had to deal with that shit forever, you know. And then I came out here for Grateful Dead shows when I was 15, 16 the first time, 88, 89, right after the earthquake, 89.
Yeah,
and
that's when I left.
I'd already known about it out here and realized that there was people that I could agree with, you know, in culture-wise.
Yep.
Because I just, you know, nothing against my friends and my family, but it's not just a social, there's more to it. It's just, it's a way of life, and
Yeah.
it's a social divide, it's a cultural divide, it's a political divide, it's a divide. You know what I'm saying? It's like people still, or anybody can smoke weed, but once the cop comes in the room, everybody throws the bag to the guy that it's okay because he's got the dreadlocks. You're like, what the fuck, man? Like, you know, and it's like, and you deal with that for years, you know. It's like, it's always been the same. Is everybody like coming up here? Nobody would want to, everybody knew the guy, but nobody wanted to come up here. Nobody wanted to stay up here. Nobody wanted to work up here. Everybody was like, oh, I got a friend up there.
Yeah.
But I don't want to go hang out up there.
Yeah, like me. Yeah. We were all afraid of it.
You're afraid of it. I'm like, the fuck are you so afraid of?
We were all afraid of you.
know.
Yeah. All of us Bay Area bougie kids, we were all afraid of you smoking your weed, though.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's just been, it's like, for me, moving here, it was different because, you know, in Philadelphia, I was the only one. I couldn't talk to anybody. So here just was like being in a community that's strong, that had the same beliefs, that I had support. You know, if something bad happens, you have that support, you have community support, financial support, just all kinds of backing. And it's been, you know, it's changed. And, you know, I've raised my family here. You know, my daughter's been raised here. You know, I've been here for 20 years now, because you could always make more money, do all kinds of things other places, or possibly, I mean, I don't know, but to be here with people that have the same belief, and I watched them come and go over the years. You know, there's been, like I said, I'm not born and raised here, but I've become part of this community, and I've got friends that are born and raised here, and it's just an amazing community. Strongest people. You know, to do what we were doing with no fucking remorse, to just be like, look, we're not doing anything wrong, man. I'm just growing medical marijuana. It's I don't know what the fuck's the problem with you people. Like, you know, you're all smoking it, but the second it comes to point a finger, you guys will point the finger too. It's such a, you know, so for me, it was like, I kind of avoided it at first because I didn't want to have, I liked being the only one, but then I realized that it's just inevitable to be here. This is where I belonged, like in this community, with people like me standing, you know, like I said, is in the past 20 years, if I told, just in the past 5 years, the amount of people that have come and gone is ridiculous.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, you know, it takes a certain person to be here, especially in the past. Now, everybody thinks they can be here, or I don't even know the new shit coming into this thing is, I don't know how they think they're not going to make it. They won't make it up here. Like, I mean, this still goes back to the roots of the guys like us that put in the work to make this available. Yeah. This wouldn't be anything if it wasn't for us. It's like, you'd all be smoking fucking shit grown in God knows where. It's like, you know, you don't move Napa somewhere either. You get like, this place is special for living everything it offers. And hey, cannabis thrives here. There's no doubt about it. It's fucking,
it's the best.
It's you know, it's one of 7 microclimates in the world is right here. I mean, there's so many things that are right here, and it's you know, like I said, it's for kids here. It's been amazing. Like my daughter, certainly, you know, it's just, there's so much for them, you know, and it's hard, you know, I never wanted to like worry about having my kid, you know, but it was the reality. Just, you know, it's not a nice feeling when you have to worry about helicopters and all this shit, and you got kids and animals, and you know, you're technically allowed to when you're growing medical, and then it's like, why are you here, you know? And then I personally haven't had too many, you know, problems, you know, but it's been a stressful long 20 years. I can say that.
I'm sure.
People can say all they want about it. It's like, well, you're willing to go sit in those hills. Don't worry about what vacation I go on, because I guarantee you won't last a week. And I've watched friends come here and they all leave. You know, it's just, it's not for the weak. It's like Deadliest Catch, I call it. It's like, you know, it's work. It's hard work. And it's like, you know, you're running your ranch. It's your life. You know, you have to it's not about just 100% just going out. You know, you have a plant that you can, we were able to make money and provide medicine, but you're just sustaining your community and your property. And now more so than ever, it's like I'm fighting to keep my ranch alive. You know, because this whole thing's been fucking putting us
legalization.
The switch over has been fucking horrible.
Killing you.
It's like, it's destroying. It's like, you know, we're broke. You know, we haven't legally been able to sell anything they held, you know, honestly, it's like 8 months. You know, it's like if you grew Brussels sprouts and you told him he can't sell his product for 8 months, he'd fucking go broke because it'd all be molded. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but they don't, you know,
they put an 8-month freeze.
I'm just saying is when I actually got to when harvest is and to when you get your licensing. I was like, there's a big gap in there, my friend. Yeah. Like, you know, what am I supposed to do with this? You know, it's the Department of Agriculture. It's a product that can go bad. You know, and I'm like, if I can't sell it when it's ready, and you won't give me my license, you're setting me up to fucking die. You know that, right? So
yeah, man. Wow.
I'm here. Like, I can tell you how many people that aren't here. You know, there's more that aren't here than are here, and that's fucked up. Because this state needed, you know, for so many years.
Big part of the economy.
What do they want to think about it? They can say whatever they want, you know.
Big part of the economy.
Like the part of the economy.
Yep. Oh yeah, up here. Market, the part of the economy for sure. Up here, yeah. So wow, that was an amazing unpacking of a big long story. But let's drill down a little bit, and I want to get back to you with your dreadlocks in Philly. And for those listening, can't see Joe. He doesn't have dreadlocks anymore. In fact, you look sort of square, man. I was a little surprised, a little disappointed in you. Sorry. Very short, trim beard, you know, baseball hat. You're all legal now. Is that it? Is this part of the jam?
I've always had I had long hair a long time ago, but I cut it. It's
funny. It's hard to see that now because you're so clean cut now. Yeah. But yeah, so yeah, in the Philly in the 80s, dreadlocks, white boy, Italian American, that would have been strange. How'd you get there? Like, how did you get to having dreadlocks? Like, what did you encounter? What person, who turned you on to that? Or what?
I got into the reggae movement at a very young age. I was making my dad cringe from a very young age. Like, you know.
How? Was there like a brother or uncle, or you just found it?
Man, it was just, trust me.
That was before the internet, so, you know.
I was when they say the black sheep, it was like, but I was a very curious black sheep. You know?
Your dad owned a McDonald's?
Yeah.
And you worked there?
Unfortunately.
Wow.
That's where I had to go for punishment when I'd get suspended.
To work
no pay and working at McDonald's is fucking horrible.
For your dad?
Yeah.
It's like double slavery.
Yeah, I don't like, it wasn't my cup of tea. So but
that was your dad's career?
Yeah. Yeah, my family was in the funeral business, but he didn't go into it. He owned a McDonald's.
So you could have had some really, really nice life choices there, Joe. Yeah, and you could have been an undertaker or worked at a McDonald's, man, but you chose this?
Yeah. I chose this from a long time ago. I wanted no parts of that.
That's amazing. Interesting. So yeah, like you said you were 13 when you started dealing in some way or another?
Yeah, I was getting kicked out of CCD and all my confirmation and communion classes.
What's CCD?
It's the after school thing for when you go get your confirmation.
For Catholics?
Yeah,
Catholic
stuff. Because I was like just saying stuff that they didn't like.
Yeah.
Good questioning stuff.
School not for you so much.
No, I like to learn, but I'd like to call people out. I need to know. I need to know why you're telling me something.
What neighborhood did you grow up in?
Well, I was in South Philadelphia till I was young, but then we moved out to Delaware County. I mean, that's where I graduated high school, was out in Delaware County. And you were getting into reggae and sort of you were just the alternative black sheep, curious about the bigger world. Yeah, I was big time into the Grateful Dead, big time into reggae, and it was just my thing.
And ganja goes with that.
Yeah, ganja for me has just always been, it's been medicine, man. It's how I can deal with the rest of the world, because I think the rest of the world's fucked up. So if not, I'm very high strung and so if I don't, I'll probably piss somebody off. So for me, it's like, my mom always said it's just been medicine. Like, I refuse to take any medication for anything. So I use cannabis for everything, pretty much.
Do you remember the very first time you smoked weed?
Yeah, I was in my friend's backyard in like 8th grade. Yeah, during lacrosse season. It was like it opened up a lot of doors for me. Mm-hmm. Then I tried acid, and that opened up all kinds of doors. But then I stopped doing that because it was just too much.
How did it make you feel though? I mean, like what doors were opened? Yeah, that very first time.
It just was. I finally felt relaxed. I finally felt like, wow, why the fuck didn't somebody give me this before? Because not in a relaxed in a sense of a stoner relaxed, because I don't smoke it really to get high. It just makes me function. Like, I mean, I guess a lot of people probably, if they smoked as much as I do, they would not be able to get out of bed. I can go do a full day of work. But it doesn't get me. It gets me even keeled to where possibly there's a drug out there that I could get a doctor to give me, but I refuse that. So I choose this.
So since I started both using cannabis about a year ago, again, I restarted after a long, about 2.5 decades of not using it at all. But I was a pothead for a brief moment when I was a teenager. But I've become also interested in the cannabis industry and what's going on with it simultaneously. And so I've talked to a lot of people who are basically otherwise would have been known as potheads, but turns out are like my business associates and my partners and journalists and all kinds of people who do, and bankers and Wall Street traders who I've been meeting and talking to, who get high all day long and have been for their entire adult lives, functioning at extremely high levels, who I admired their work of, right? And I'm like, you're kidding me. You all day long? Forever? I didn't know this.
I think it's just now you can relate. The taboo has been kind of removed, and people are like, it's like, fuck it, I do smoke weed. Like, well, I mean, I've always just been like, I really don't care what this person thinks. I mean, I've definitely started using the pen more over the couple of years because
the vape pen.
Yeah, I just don't like, just not. I mean, I like it also, but it's nice not having people look at you because they know you just smoked a joint. So I'm like, I don't really care, but I do like people not up in my shit. It's nice to get on an elevator and not have everybody be like,
right,
what the fuck, dude?
Totally.
Because I really don't care, because I will go in there like that. But I mean, I'm like, I also am fucking 47 years old and kind of over some of the shit. Just like, I'm like, look, if it makes, I mean, plus this is stronger anyway. Yeah.
It's more effective and discreet. It's more efficient. Right. More efficient medicine. So, yeah, I mean, God, it's wild. So you started dealing, then you're in the suburb, you're a teenager, you're the one black sheep, you're wearing the dreadlocks. And so when do you start thinking about California? You must have been like...
when they were like, I mean, I was growing in Philly, and then they changed the game a little bit. So they put like mandatory minimums in, so it was time for me to leave.
Oh, right. Yeah, that was fun. The Clintons.
I was like, yeah. I was like, no, I mean, in Philadelphia, they started this whole shit like in
Reagan.
99 was they put in they had a cultivation mandatory minimums. They never had them before.
Yeah, right.
So
the war on drugs.
It wasn't, it didn't fit my profile anymore. I was like, oh, guess time to move to Humboldt County, because I could at least come here. And when I moved here, I think we were allowed 12 plants the first year, medical. And then by the time it all got down to like 99 plants. It was like the final maximum, and so it was definitely better.
So you had a grow house inside Philadelphia, in the city. That's amazing. With just some lights in some room somewhere, and they didn't even know, right? Under their noses.
No. I think right when I got out was when people started figuring it out.
Oh, really?
I don't know. It just was like, where'd that dude with the dreadlocks disappear to? I was like, I'm out of here, man.
So then they had mandatory minimums for weed growing?
Yeah, I think Pennsylvania now is like, I want to say 10 plants you get mandatory minimum a year.
Wow.
And it goes up in increments of 10 to 2 to 3. I was like, yeah, fuck all this.
So you could have done many years for growing and distributing marijuana.
I mean, it used to be just you had to have like 100 plus pounds or some shit. Like,
totally rational law, right, Joe?
Yeah. I mean,
so you're out of there. Went to Humboldt, where it was easier, at least more loose. And then it got looser and looser with medical when it became legal, right? So you come here, what, 99? All right, and you've been here ever since. That's 23.
20th season.
This is it.
Sure. Yeah.
Wow. All right. How old were you? So you were young, right? You were 27. What did you have to work with when you got here? Like, how did you get your place?
I hustled, saved my money. My mom helped me out. Got my first property.
Did your mom know what you were doing?
Yeah, my mom always she was done fighting me. She fought me long enough. This fight started when I was young, so
I bet.
she threw in the towel at like, she's like, okay, he's obviously definitely gonna keep smoking weed. Like, so I mean, I think around 25, she was like, fuck it.
Gave up.
She sent me to Jamaica, I remember, for my 25th birthday party. And I was kind of like, I don't care anymore. I'm done.
That would be the message mom is sending you.
Like,
She's sending you to Jamaica.
Now she's my number one supporter. Like the past.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Oh, that's awesome.
She loves it out here. She's been to Reggae on the River. She would come out and
Reggae on the Rivers is really famous annual concert with all these reggae stars from all over the world, and it's always been famous. Even as bougie Bay Area kids would come up here and hang out with you guys then, and get very, very high. She goes to that. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, my family comes out. I mean, I've got a special place. It's, for people that are from the city. It's like they can just go sit down and not have to worry about shit. I live on the river.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm 5 miles to the beach. So.
Yeah, let's talk about that, man. You live in one of the most beautiful places in the world, I think. It's one of my favorite places. You live actually on what's called the Lost Coast area, which is, if you look it up in Backpacker magazine, it's considered one of the greatest backpacking trips in the world. It's known for its beauty. I've actually never been right there, but I've wanted to go. And your ranch, right, is right there at the mouth of the Mattole River?
Yeah, well, not at the, I mean, I'm on the Mattole, which is like on the east side of the Kings Range. Like I look out to the Kings Range, and right over it's the ocean, and
it's stupendously beautiful country.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
my one property, I look out over it, so it's like a 360-degree view of the whole area. You get sunsets, and it's insane.
For 20 years, with your daughter.
Yeah,
she was born there.
Yeah, I mean the Mattole River is like, it's really amazing.
I know.
Like the Eel River in town is nothing against it. It's an amazing river also, but it's like, I think it's 90% dammed for hydropower or some shit. It's only like 10% of the flow. So like if you see the high water marks up on the highway from, I forget, 66, I want to say, or something. There was a big flood up here. I'm kind of probably off on my dates, but it's kind of amazing when you see pictures of it then and then what hydropower has done to it. It's a trickle of what it should be.
Whereas the Mattole is a wild river?
Mattole's still a wild. It's the last wild. I think it's the last wild steelhead run in the state.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I have in my backyard every spring. I probably get about 10 pods of eggs. I see this. My kid's been watching. It's amazing. I have like a 30-foot deep hole in my backyard of private property it's pretty special because we have otters, we have fish, we got mountain lion, we have bear, it's pretty wild.
Wow.
Pretty wild.
Can I please come visit?
Yeah, it's pretty. For me, when I bought it, like, I remember the guy. I didn't even see the house. I was buying the house next door, and I was like, dude, have you ever stood on pavement with a fire hydrant? And he didn't even know what I was talking about. I was like, well, in the city, if it's hot, you got to turn on the fire hydrant. That's how I was like, I'll take it. If I can own my own fucking swimming hole, I'll worry about the house another time. I was just like, it's amazing. It's like, it's what makes my ranch. It's like I want to open up like a bed and breakfast type thing because it's so special that it's that special.
Really?
Like even living there for 20 years, I'm just like, yeah, this is cool, man.
The reason we're not there is because your power's out. Though we were on our way there and we had to stop here in Garberville, right? Yeah, and you said that's a common thing because you're so remote.
There's snow yesterday, and it's just down power lines, and they have to find it.
I'm so bummed because I really want to see this place. Eventually, I hope so. And you also have a dispensary there, right? Now.
Yeah, I have partners, and me and two friends own Lost Coast Botanicals.
Okay, yeah.
It's been up since 2013.
But you're still basically a grower primarily. That's still what you're doing. You're just legal now. That's the difference, right?
Yeah. And you have two legal farms.
Go through this whole 5-year or so process of filling out 1,000 pieces of paper.
I've already done that. I've got books for each property it's a lot.
Yeah, and these laws are written by people who don't know the business.
Pretty much. You'd think so, the way they've gone about it. I can say maybe it would have been better to hire some of us.
Yes. I can tell you just as a consumer, it's obvious. It's obvious.
On my Instagram, I put out the president of Jamaica, because they're going the same route. And he said that the original ganja man needs a spot at the table.
Totally.
Whether he's got his overalls on or not, you got to give him a spot, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
he's the one who knows the business.
Like, you guys, it's amazing the stuff that people say to you. You're just like, oh my God, it's like, this is what I'm dealing with. It's hard.
I bet.
Because it's like you're basically teaching people on a daily basis, and it's frustrating because you're like, And you know, especially salespeople, distribution people that want to deal with your product, but they really have no fucking clue what they're talking about.
And they want to tell you how to run it.
And they want large amounts of money to do it. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, you just put me out of business, dude. Like, it just doesn't work. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I voted against Prop 17. Was it 17? That was the first legalization one. That was, and because you guys were all telling me not to. That was the growers were saying this is specifically designed to put us out of business and give it to agribusiness. And I was like, these guys are paranoid because they smoke too much weed. And then I actually read the fucking proposition, and it's almost word for word what you guys were saying. And I voted against that thing, and it went down. And I'm glad for it, even though they ended up getting you in another way. But that's been the problem with legalization, right? It's invited agribusiness, the corporate types, to come in and shove out the guys with the dreadlocks who don't play by the rules, you know, who didn't go to school and were bad boys all along, right? And clean up this whole thing. And you're kind of...
They probably don't want me in this business.
You're at the business, yeah.
But guess what? I'm here.
That's right. They want people like you out, you know, or at least for you to clean up, clean up a lot, maybe even more than you are.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, it's hard for them to, you know... I don't have paperwork to back up what I do, you know, type thing. Like, I don't have the degrees. I don't have the whatever, but...
You told me this thing about, I asked you if you wanted me to use your last name, and you said there was a moment when the state asked for your last name and you had to sign some piece of paper saying what did you had done or something. What was this?
No, it's just stating that you've been growing for however long.
To state, you committed this crime for this long and you put your name on it.
I don't know what it said, but you had to say you were part of this.
At that moment,
but I mean, you know, it's like look at other states. You know, I'm from Pennsylvania, and guys like me don't stand a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's all hedge fund money, so they don't give two shits what you know. It's hedge fund money. So I'm thankful that I was able for this opportunity. You know, as much as it's bullshit. If you look, you know, Al Capone, he went legal. I mean, it's like, what are you gonna do? I can't beat them. So you got to do it, and I think in due time. I mean, you got to understand it's a freaking. I'm sure alcohol was not a fucking perfect for a while.
I know the history of this. You're right. You're exactly right.
Sure, it took them a minute with the stills, until the stills became not worthy. Yeah, and it'll take time, but it's just hard to get through that time.
So the thing about that, and that's great that you brought that up. That was designed. Roosevelt, who issued the order, and all of his state people who implemented it. It was designed explicitly to get the gangsters out of the booze industry. All the bad, not just gangsters, but all the bad people who were associated with them, like the prostitutes and just the countercultural people. Get them out. Get the clean people in, which is what they did. Then Anheuser-Busch takes over, right? And all the rest of it. And so I think that's really what's happening here too with you guys.
That's what it seems like. I mean, it's pretty obvious when you go into stores and there's certain brands that are just, you see them everywhere. The people that had the big money to pay the guys to go and think 5 years down the road as opposed to now. Because you're like, oh, well, how the fuck did they know? Yeah. It's learning though. I mean, I think I've learned a ton in the past year. It's just been the most trying time. And it's like, I think I understand it, but it's still, you just got to be willing to change because they change on a daily basis. And you can't be sit here and be stubborn like I'm this grower anymore. Like, I get it, but it's legal now. Like if you're going to do it, you have to do it to... You have to do it to the level where it's supposed to be, or else it's not going to work, unfortunately.
But you said a lot of people have just left. They can't do it. Well, they haven't been able to.
They shut a lot of shit down. I mean, they shut people down that were, it's expensive, man. And it's like, if you can't sell your product, how are you supposed to pay? They either way, they still expect you to pay those bills. Right. So that's kind of like impossible. It's they leave you really with, It's fucked up.
And prices are dropping all the time too.
Well, because people have to go to the black market because they can't pay you have to pay bills, and they want their bills, but they won't let you, you can't sell your stuff to a dispensary until you have, they go onto a website, and if your thing doesn't say active, then they can't buy from you.
I've also found this out recently, talking to people in cannabis. They're telling me that the black market is still alive and well because of this, because there's no taxes and no regulations, and you can get cheaper cartridges for your vape pen.
Probably.
Definitely. I mean, I've heard this. I think more on the East Coast where there are fewer dispensaries.
Well, I don't think there's any dispensaries on the East Coast.
Or whatever. There's no competition, in other words. Yeah. Yeah. So what was it? How did you find your spot? And like, what was it like just to be, I don't even know. What was it? What is it to be a pot grower? Like in the 1980s and 90s, like what's your daily life like? Are you just like any other farmer, but it's just a different kind of crop basically?
Yeah. I mean, you're waking up in the morning. I mean, if you're doing outdoor, we do light dep where you're pulling tarps on them. So you're getting up you're basically the light. So you're turning them on at 7 a.m. and then you put the tarps back on them at 7 p.m.
To trick them? Is that the idea?
Yeah, I mean,
To
but
you're accelerating the growth, is that it?
No, you're just accelerating the flower cycle
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you're just cutting the grow time into. So it's like if you're doing that, I mean, if you're doing anything you're doing, you just have your morning chores. It's not city life when sometimes I lived off the grid when I first moved here. So when you get on, you're either checking your batteries, turning on generators. It's not as easy as when you wake up in the city and you can just call for everything. You got to do. I mean, I've learned a lot of things. I'm still not really that good at it. I'm still a city kid at heart, but
Really? How so?
I'm not too good at like chainsaws and all. I'm not like, it's just not my thing. I got friends for that. We have agreements. So.
That's funny. Yeah. So did you start off with your own farm? You had your own money?
I bought my own. I came here and I bought a place. Yeah. And just kind of worked, the real estate. When I first got here, it was kind of good. Like you could buy property and the values went up real quick. So I sold one piece, bought another one. I've been holding on to one piece for a long time. And then I bought the two I live in. I bought second, and I've just been living on the ranch for the past 20 years.
How many acres?
It's like 25 with the two pieces put together,
Wow. That's
I mean, it's small compared to, I mean, I have one place that's 100 and some acres, but that's in the permit process right now. It's not.
So that'll be fully legal from the get-go. That's the idea.
Yeah. I mean, it's like it had pre-existing on, like what happens is if you had anything that was pre-existing of 2015 is what you can get a permit on.
Okay.
So they don't ask you that's what you're saying this is what I was doing, obviously.
Right.
So
right.
They take pictures of it and you're like, oh my God, but that's when you admit like that was there since fucking 2000, whenever. And your life of crime and your name on it. And that's what I give. But if they can see all that, then they're cool with that. They're like, okay, so that's what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, but we'll see what they do with that information, though. They could do anything with it at any point. I mean, it's unlikely they're going to hurt you, but it must have been scary to give your name and your...
I mean, what are you going to do?
I know.
Either way, I can say I'm not going to do it, and then what am I going to do? Right. If I didn't sign up, I was going to have to go out there and put my shit up either way this summer to eat, and they probably would have come and take it because now they just sit there and it's very easy for them to see who's paying and who's not. There's like green dot or no green dot. If you don't have a green dot, you might as well think that they're coming. So I was not willing to take the chance. I was willing to take the chance when everybody was taking a chance, but when I realized that the playing field was set, that it was like you either play or it's going to be back to like the 80s Bush time. Yeah. Right. Like it's no joke. They weren't fucking around this summer on shit. So I was like, I was already in the process, so I don't care. I was like, I'm just going to keep paying just what I did but it was very nerve wracking because like I said, they didn't give me my licenses till December as well, after many sleepless nights waiting, looking, and letters, threat. I got one time they sent me a letter a fine for $264,000. But it was like a misfiling. But it's just shit that they do to people all the time. Like, just one thing gets misfiled. But if you could be somebody that doesn't check your P.O. box for a week because you live up in the hills 2 weeks. And in that amount of time, they've threatened you with like this, and this. And yes, it could be fixable by a phone call. But unless you had that fucking it was like I woke up on mornings like where I just felt like my heart was going to like, I didn't know what to do. Like, what do I mean? How do I owe $264,000 to? What the fuck did I do? And about some water shit that I'm like, no. Like, it just.
And it comes to you sort of randomly. It seems
random as fuck. Dude, we even had a hearing about some square footage, told me what to do, did it, paid money, then they took half the square footage away.
Anyway.
And I'm like, do I take them to court? Like,
right.
How the fuck do I take the...
This is the county, right? Humboldt County's doing this to you mostly?
No, yeah. It's the state's got their shit together, I will say. It's like once you get to the state level, it was refreshing because they you know, on one of my properties, they really fucked with me.
They just took
for no reason.
They just took half your shit.
They made me take half of it down and pay a fine. Yeah,
and a fine for no reason.
I thought that we cleared that in the hearing. That okay, I might have done something. I was like, I did whatever. I was like, but they told me I had to have scientists come in and say what I did made it better. And that's what they did. They said what he did.
Can we back up? What specifically were they asking for? They
were saying that basically I moved square footage from one area to another, and that I wasn't supposed to do that. That's what they wanted. You didn't want.
Why?
Because anything from 2015, they wanted it. If it was there in 2015 and they took the picture in 2016 and it was over there, even though it's the same amount, you had to put it back.
Okay.
And I'm talking about people that built ponds and stuff, and they were like, you have to take that out. I mean, I know, and put it back. And they're like, you serious?
Wow.
Like, they've been like, you can have a permit, but you need to put it back to there. And they're like, but I thought it made sense to put it all really nice over here.
Okay, now this, and you're saying this has just been destroying people, families who've been here for decades, generations, just putting people out of business. They're moving out of this county.
There's a lot of businesses shutting
down, old growers getting destroyed. And you're saying this is Humboldt County primarily and doing this. And you had a theory you told me before we started rolling with the mics that you see it as some sort of a revenge or getting back at growers by the northern county interests who are mostly logging interests, or something's going on.
Just the politics just seems,
they're going hard, especially hard
here.
At you guys.
Well, here, I mean,
in the county,
most counties they didn't even really do much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was surprised when you told me.
Here they went hard this summer on people, you know, as opposed to going after like illegal dispensaries in LA that are like on every corner.
Yeah.
And that's why the market's fucked up, because they're selling eighths for 20 and nobody wants to go in the legal store because they're 60. And I get it, but if you would shut those down.
Right. Sure.
I mean, so it's, you go down to LA, it's like, it's a free for all in a sense. You just really have no control over it.
Yeah. But for decades, like the growers here were a central part of this economy for this county. I mean, they produced so much revenue that had all kinds of tributaries that produced all sorts of wealth throughout this county. Not even if you went through here and never smoked pot at all, you still benefited from it. Even if you lived here and never smoked pot, you benefited from it.
There would be no hotels here. There would be nothing here. So.
That's right. And so why are they going after you then? Why do you think they want to destroy? Why do you think they're
to bring in the big guys?
Ah, I see.
I mean, it just
clearing you out
into a county seat.
It's what I was talking about.
Turn it into Monsanto grows type. I don't know, Budweiser grows. I don't know. It just makes. They're already doing it in the South. They're like the corporations are buying multiple greenhouses and putting them under one umbrella type thing. It's like, it's gone. I mean, I can't see it not happening here unless they just shut it down. But people realize this is where the best cannabis comes from. That is coming more and more obvious as the longer the people are smoking the crap in the stores. They're like, I want that stuff. But, I don't know if big money with their interests are up here, but they're already here. It's just a matter of where and who and how they're wording it and a bunch of bullshit.
Okay.
It's me is like, so
okay.
I don't really trust much of it because I think they're coming. I just like up here, it's a lot of small farms. There's some big, really big farms. I just don't know. Of course, I think it's in their best interest just to monopolize the whole thing. I mean, whether they're going to come in here and buy everybody out or just put everybody out and buy everything at low cost, I don't know. But either way, it seems like that's kind of the plan.
Okay, so I was right. Yeah, this is what's going on. And what you were describing, it just became clear to me. Oh, they're just trying to harass you or destroy you through fines and regulations to clear you out and pave the way for.
I mean, I should have been gone by now.
Some corporation,
but they're thinking,
some clean corporation with people who never wore dreadlocks.
They can go in and go drop $2 million on their property and get it all up to takes me a sec. I have to they realize that, but they're like. Every week you get another letter, you have to do this, and that. And you're just like, okay. I did those checked them, send it back in. And
they don't want
they hate that when you're on it. It's like,
yeah, because they don't want.
I'm not going to give up, man.
I was going to say, man, so how do we save you?
I don't have this is what I do. I'm happy for this opportunity.
Yeah. And
I'm willing to play the game, so.
But I'm worried now that that you won't be able to, that they just have too much power now. You and other growers like you.
I think that there's certain things, that they're just not going to. There's big vineyards, there's small vineyards, there's big breweries, there's craft breweries. I'm not trying to compete with them.
And you were saying you were Just thinking of going into sort of the high-end boutique.
Yeah,
and like,
I don't want anything to do with what that shit that they're doing down. I'm like, more power to you.
You mean cheap, bad
Cheap,
weed?
just crap because it's cheap.
Right.
You know, it's garbage. I really don't care. Like, you could go put Pinot Noir grapes in you could plant them anywhere, but they're not, just because they're planted in the ground with the water does not mean, like, the climate has a lot to do with that shit. And they're realizing that. I mean, the weed that's grown down in this way down south, it's 90 degrees still at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So here it goes from 95 during the day and it drops down to 50 at night. That does amazing things for cannabis.
Yeah.
So, and people realize that are actually smoking it. They're like, if I'm going to go in and pay $50, $60 for an eighth, then can you please go up and get it from where it's supposed to be grown? Like, the indoor is one thing. It's totally different entities. But if you want sun-grown cannabis, you need it from one. It doesn't have to be just here, but there's very few small pockets where it really is good.
Yeah.
And this happens to be the best.
Right.
It's just the reality of it.
So there might be some niches where you can survive.
Yeah. I'm not stressed. I'm kind of into it because it's like you have to pick. It's been more getting back to the old school methods of growing and cracking seeds and chasing after different phenos and genetics and all. For me, it's more interesting because I like that, because I don't really like just growing clones. It's kind of boring. I'll do what I have to do to eat, but now it's, people want the boutique-y, if you're putting in a jar appeal and all that stuff. So it's making the more exotic strains, like, for me, is way more fun. So it's trying to stay exclusive and stay ahead of the game. Like, I don't really outsource anything.
It's funny. So now you have to worry about jar appeal. And you were complaining to me before we started talking about jars. You got some phone call and you were like, oh, now we got to put things in jars, right? Because that's
like
what
just 50 pounds worth of, it's 50, I don't even fucking know. It's like over 5,000 jars.
You have to buy 5,000 jars.
For 50 pounds. It's not even that much weed. I mean, it's like,
God.
And it's just a whole process. And just like, you have to have just the whole process of it. You end up paying an extra $1.50 per eighth that I sell is in packaging. It's somebody could care less about.
Packaging is so important to them, isn't it?
It's the only way I can build my brand. Right. Is like trying to get somebody's eye, and it's what you have to do now. It's like, it sucks, but I get it. I'm kind of into it because I think I put out a good product, and I'm not into what everybody else is doing. So I'm into it. It's just, it's hard. It's hard. You can't just walk into somewhere and dispensary's not going to buy your weed just because it's good. There's a process to it. It's like, they got to do this, they got to do that. And it's still, if I walk into a dispensary and there's cookies in there, cookies bag, and that's a brand. Whether I have the better weed or not,
doesn't matter.
There's still, it's cookies. That's right. It's like, that's that brand.
That's right.
I'm like, yeah, but they can put anything in there. Like, it's just, getting into, like, you just got to do shit that you had never done before. But it's, in a sense, it's cool because you can finally go talk about it. Like, that's where I'm at. Like, I'm not going to pay somebody. I'm like, if I can legally go do this, then it's like, I'm kind of stoked to go in here and talk to somebody. Like, when I went to a dispensary down in San Fran, they gave me an hour to go in there and bring my product and talk. And like, that's what I want. Like, I'd rather do that than get in. If I'd have paid somebody, they would have charged me 20-30% to go do that same thing to get the sale, but not guarantee me the sale. So I'm like, if I'm going to do that, I'll just do it myself.
Everyone knows, I think, the world, and especially Americans, is overworked. And today, it can be very hard to find the time to sit down and learn more about the world. It's not easy when the likes of social media can be so addictive and time-consuming also. So you may think you don't have the time to read a whole book or to develop yourself. In fact, I often don't read a whole book. I usually just use it for my work. There's an app I highly recommend. It's called Blinkist. Blinkist is the only app that takes the best key takeaways, the need-to-know information from thousands of nonfiction books, the kind I use, and condenses them down into just 15 minutes so you can read or listen to them easily. Blinkist is made of people like you and me, very busy people with active work schedules, who want to get the main points of the books very quickly without reading the entire book. With an audio feature, Blinkist makes it so easy to finish 4 books a day while you're on the go. 8 million people right now are using Blinkist, and it has a massive and growing library, from self-help to business to health to even history books. I like Blinkist personally because, as I said, for my own work, I use books rather than read them entirely. So in less than 15 minutes, I feel like I can get from a book exactly what I need. Right now, for a limited time, Blinkist has a special offer just for the unregistered audience. Go to Blinkist.com/renegade to start your free 7-day trial. That's Blinkist, spelled Blinkist, Blinkist.com/renegade to start your free 7-day trial. Blinkist.com/renegade. You want to tell us about your product right now? I mean, what do you got? What do you want to do? Or what are you thinking of? You told me about it before.
Well, I mean, it's called Varsity. So it's like when we were kids, my one friend in Philly, like you all always varsity sports. It means you're on the best. And my one friend would always say, like, if we saw a hot chick, if like she's varsity, if that dude does well, he's varsity. Just it meant that you're on you're like you're cool. You're an OG. Like, I mean, so I just want to fucking put an indoor version and a light depth version, and my oil that I make is just what I consider it's just on a different level. So it makes sense that it's Varsity, and work with if I build it to the right level where I can get my friends involved and outsource genetics and have them grow into my line is what I'd like to do, because I do pheno hunt. Like me and my friends, we crack seeds and we search for the shit. It takes time and it takes effort, but everybody could have 10 different, say they have this strain, but if you have the pheno that's different and the one that most people get their clones from somebody, and you can't, you're stuck with what they give you. So.
And when you say good or Varsity, you mean are you talking about just potency? You're talking about like the terpene effects?
I think that's unfair
What are people interested in? What are you interested in, and what's the market interested in?
The market wants to see the THC level, which is, it's a shame, because if I pull a pound of weed out and you test every bud in there, they're all going to test different. So you pull off a plant, it's all going to test different. And that's why you have to have the same pheno. So if people are buying clones from somebody that they're getting different off of different moms, and you run the testing, you have to do your own potency testing. If that doesn't match within 10 or 20% of what distro when they get tested by the state, then it has to get relabeled. So it's like people are like, they stack the numbers to get the THC levels up. It's like saying, I could give you a bottle of Everclear, you're going to get shit-faced. I give you a bottle of good scotch, you're going to get pretty shit-faced too. So, and it doesn't need to be 120 some friggin' proof. It's the same with the distillate and like my oil. Like I make full spectrum oil, but it's bud that's pressed. It's like no trim or nothing. So no, it's not 90%, but I don't need much more than 58%, 60%. It's fucking strong, dude.
Right. And you're full spectrum. For people don't know, that means you have all the terpenes in it, right?
Yeah.
All the elements of the thing that makes it valuable for a human being, for a human body, right?
Right.
Both in terms of getting high and the health
exactly.
effects.
It's people think it's healthy to pull the waxes and all that shit out. 90% of that reason is my belief is because most of them are running it out of shake and trim for their, whether it's high end or not. It's better. At that point, you might as well just suck it dry and add something back in, because you're dealing with my byproduct at that point.
Right. Instead of the bud.
So for me, it's like I don't get the yield that those guys get. But I get a 10 times better product, because basically I grind up trimmed flower. So it's like, it comes out tasting the same way as it does on the plant. So the terpene, I just did terpene tests on them, and people are just blown away, because you can smell the herb through the cartridge.
That's it. Yeah.
And it's like, I get what, I don't ever get when somebody's just out to make a ton of money, because that's all the distillate shit is. If you're making stuff off of, technically the stuff that I sweep my floor with. I make video when the truck comes by. I'm like, you guys can have this shit, dude. Like, they don't even, I label it and they just put it in one bag. And I'm like, that's fucking
It's just most cartridges, which is the big thing in cannabis, it's these vape cartridges. That's what people are doing more and more now, rather than smoking joints. a lot of the concentrate that's in those cartridges is just the THC. They just suck the THC out of the flower, and then they'll add something back in to make it sort of maybe taste or smell a little bit like the original flower. But you're saying full spectrum, and that's what you're doing. It has all of the elements of the flower, including the aroma and all of its benefits and all of its terpenes that have various effects on the body. So that's really, for those of you who don't know, in cannabis, that's kind of what you go in. And when you go into a dispensary, that's what people talk about. So there's kind of like there's the just THC distillates, which you can get, which are just fine. You'll get you high. I'm all for them.
But they've got no benefits.
Yeah. Well, there's just getting high, which is fine. And then there's others with various terpenes that have other benefits too. And also you get that aesthetic experience, which you don't get from just sucking THC, basically. And so you're giving that more full experience with your product, right? Yeah. Now, I think there's a place for both,
Oh,
but just so people are clear what you're up to,
Yeah,
like,
it really only makes sense because I grow it, so I'm able to personally grow specific strains that I know work without me doing anything to it.
Right.
Like, if not, you grow two certain strains, you can't just do my process because it will be too waxy. And then you have to take out stuff. And then but each time you take something out, you take away a property, whether, it's terpenes or, you're always heating something too. So I try to do one process and just grow specifically strains for that. So I don't have to do anything to it. And people are just blown away by it. So it's like, and on the CBD level, we can't, you have to do it the way we do it because it's just, you need all those levels of all those spectrums for the medicine. So
cool. I want to try it. So I want to talk about this thing I've been thinking about. Like I've been meeting a lot of people who have been in cannabis for a long time, pre-legalization. And, I've noticed there's a lot of trauma people carry around. I notice with a lot of people, there's a lot of fear still for various reasons that are totally understandable. But, it's just, when you talked to me on the phone and you said, I was a criminal and I couldn't talk all those years. I think what I heard in your voice was like a statement of just fact because the state deemed you one, whatever. You can't argue with that. But also like, fuck, man, this is for something that none of us practically think should be illegal. Like, and so the whole thing is, the outrage on top of having no choice in your status, but you were basically forced into being a criminal. Like that was your identity, your status, your culture, even the town, the people you hung out with, you were saying, like, when you're talking about the community here nurturing you, it was all technically criminals.
But the first time I didn't feel like a criminal when I came here
was when you were with criminals, right. Technically.
Like I don't call us criminals. I shouldn't say
technically you were. Now you should fucking embrace it.
By the state of the law. Because I was around other outlaws.
I was going to say, for me, like if it's a law I disagree with, I think doesn't exist to me. A criminal is a compliment, right? So you guys are heroes, obviously, for being criminals here or outlaws.
We always said it was the outlaw way of life up here. It's just you come up here to whatever walk of life you came from. You obviously didn't. For me, and the weed happened to be, it just fit, it makes sense, and that's why. This is the longest I've ever lived anywhere. I've always bounced around, and this was the only place I've ever stuck my roots in and been like, wow, this is like. Normally I always go back home. I go back and visit, but like this is where I'm comfortable. And even more so now, like even though this has been tough, now I'm kind of excited because I want to build this, It's scary. I'm scared shitless, but I can do this with a straight face. I don't have to at least hide when I'm doing it. I can have my daughter involved without having to worry about shit. I can talk to you about it. I can go talk to people that, it's like I get into going out in the public and people are like, what do you do? I'm like, I am a commercial cannabis.
Being a regular businessman.
I'm like, and I'm here to talk to, I'm at the Four Seasons and I'm going to talk to you people that own dispensaries because I don't give a shit. Like I'm down here to put my ass out here. Like I'm into it. And that's why I'm not like giving into, I don't need to sell. I don't need to be at that level. I don't need to be the MedMen and the fucking.
So what was in your head though during those years before legalization, when you were waking up in the morning?
Stress.
About what though?
The obvious,
Well, there's a few obvious, like
getting caught, getting robbed, getting all kinds of things, Just I'm never really worried about jail. There was times, but I decided at a certain time how to I just didn't put myself to where I would have to worry about any sort of serious incarceration type thing.
Why? How'd you get to that point?
Well, I just didn't. I just was able to not. I didn't have to go into large, mega grows type thing. Like I just never. I just was happy. I was content. Like I knew how to like I said, I played the game the correct way, and it worked out. And
to not draw too much attention.
I mean, there's a way to, I'm all about people going for it, man. It's like when I see somebody go for it, it's I'm their number one supporter. As long as you're being it with a sustainable, clear conscience, and I don't want to see people ripping apart the fucking. But if you're doing it the correct way, fuck, man, go for it.
You mean environmentally?
Yeah. I mean, that's where
you're all environmentalists too.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I know. I mean, there's some people here that
heavy ecologists.
But I mean, I've always grown with a very, I'm certified. Like I have people that come out check my it's important to me because I grow I'm on the Mattole River. It's like I don't fuck around there. Like, I don't want to. Even though I'm from the city, like that river is like, I get it. Like I never got to see fish grow up. I watched fish in the summertime. They're like, I watched them in different stages of their life. I watched, it's wild.
Man. So I grew up as a kid with the rivers all being wild in the 70s. I'm 6 years older than you. So and I was floating on those rivers and swimming in them, and they dammed them all up. Well, basically when I was in high school. By the end of high school, almost all of them were dammed up. Huge tragedy. I forgot that the Mattole was the last or one of the last wild ones. And so I honor that too, that you honor that river.
It's an amazing spot.
It really, yeah.
It's cool. It's like, I mean, yeah, my daughter goes out to, I've seen it in so many different areas. I mean, my other property's out towards Honeydew, and you go out way past there, you just see it how it opens up into the big valley out there and the big ranches out there and the Mattoles, because it's really narrow in my backyard, but then it opens up, and then all the way out to Petrolia when it goes out into the ocean. It's cool.
Oh yeah,
it's definitely, you can watch, because you can go all the way down to Whitethorn and pretty much see where it starts.
So yeah, I was thinking. So I keep thinking about your daughter, right? So first 12 years she lived there, and so you're thinking, I mean, she's living in paradise, but you're also worried, aren't you?
Well, it's the transition over, like I said, has been stressful. So it's. I needed to get to work on stuff that I'm not used to. Like I said, as I spend more time up in the North County at the building department, going from window to window to window, just stuff I've never done. I never wanted to talk to them. I have no choice now. All the people I go talk to on a regular basis, I'm just like, I can't. I mean, I had to go to the police station to get fingerprinted to sell weed. That's a fucking first.
Wow.
Like, I remember making a video of that for my mom. I was like, check this out. I've never walked into a police station, first of all.
Look, Mom, I'm legit.
I'm going to give them my fucking fingerprints so I can sell weed. I was like, I'm going to say that one more time. Wow. I'm like, this is a trip, 2019. Like,
wow.
I was like, that's kind of fucking cool. It's kind of, I'm like, hi, I'm here to give you my fingerprints. It's fucking nuts.
So I can sell weed.
I'm just like, this is just a trip. It's like, I never thought it was coming, and I didn't expect it, but I get it. Like, I get this fucking bullshit because it's like I said, I try to look at it from a different perspective, not from the grower.
Wait, do you think it's going to be better for you ultimately? Do you think it could be? Like,
if I can make it through, I think it could. If you can, it's.
You said you did this because you wanted to sleep and you weren't able to sleep for those 20 years.
I had no choice either.
But when you were illegal, you said you have a hard time sleeping.
Well, you just constantly wake up in the morning and hope they're not at your gate.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I know the pattern. Like, it's just like...
Every day.
You wake up every day and you're just like...
And any day they could come. And it could be the cops or it could be someone stealing from you?
Yeah.
Really, I mean... How common was that?
It's common. It happens,
The myth, this idea of the hippies with guns, but that's what we always thought. How common was that? How real is that?
If you live down the dirt road, dude, I got mountain lion in my backyard that you better have a gun. So, I mean, of course, you live down a dirt road, you have a gun for all kinds of reasons. You live down a dirt road. I mean, there's nobody to call. I don't give a shit if somebody's trying to rob your weed, you're getting attacked by a mountain lion, or all kinds of you're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
So you better have something.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's not like it's to say you're a bunch of gun toting. It's, man, you live in the middle of nowhere. If you're a jackass, if you don't have something, because there's animals out there that are no joke. I mean, I see deer carcasses. There's mountain lion where I live that are, I don't really worry about it, but I know I'm a city kid. I will shoot. I mean, if one comes after me, I would like to have something.
But it wasn't so much, you're not armed so much, you're worried about poachers or people stealing from you or like gangsters coming up from the city or taking your money or whatever.
I have dogs, man. I ain't worried about it.
Okay. I was always wondered about that. What was it? Or cops? Or are you worried about like guns? You're not going to shoot at cops.
No, it's your ranch. I mean, you're allowed to protect your land. I mean, it's
well,
there's different.
Sometimes
there's different. You're living on a ranch. If you're the closest cop is 2 hours away. So if it's a rabid, I mean, there could be you could use any kind of things that could possibly happen. They all could happen. I mean, I had somebody show up in one of my houses years ago that was just high on fucking meth and decided to take it over as like a hostage situation because he was high.
Oh, great.
My babysitter for 2 days.
2 days?
Yeah.
Where were you?
I was on vacation. I was like, I'm sorry, dude.
Was your daughter there?
No. This was before she was born.
Jesus Christ.
Just like, that's why I've just learned. I'm like, I'd rather just make it like, I have a lot of dogs. So I'm like, man, if you decide to come over that fence, God bless you, because there's a lot, man. And they're all going to bite you.
But you had helicopters too. That was over you.
Yeah. I mean, I remember my first year here, they flew over, but I remember I had a Red Cross on my roof.
What?
Because I had a real prescription. Like I had a prescription. So I was like, my first year here, I was all excited. I had 21 plants, and they said we were allowed 12.
For medical.
Yeah, and I had a big Red Cross on my roof. I was like, and I remember just sitting there being like, I could see the whites of their fucking teeth, their eyes. Like they were just like so close to shit just blowing everywhere, and I'm like,
DEA? This is DEA?
I don't know who. I mean, it's probably not DEA. It's probably the fucking camp. It's just a California some shit they get funding.
Yeah.
And
camp, right? That was the special. What was that? That was just for you guys.
Campaign against marijuana planting or whatever.
Yeah, they invented this whole law enforcement division just for you guys, right? Yeah.
I mean, and they would, it was definitely, I sweat because I remember they went to my neighbor's house. They drove past my house like 2 hours later, but I've never personally been camped. I've never had anything taken. Nope.
They never came to your door?
Nope.
No law enforcement.
I had to call them when we had the hostage situation.
Yeah. You needed.
But I wasn't doing anything there, and it was whatever weed I had there was medical, and they didn't care. Like it was just some dried.
What about friends? Have you had friends have run-ins? Have you had friends go to prison?
Up here?
Yeah.
No, not that I know of. Like
back in the people, more in the 80s. Was that happening more in the 80s?
I mean, like people got caught here. I mean, none of my friends have done time up here. Not that I know of. I mean, like. It's one thing getting camped, where they just come take your shit, and then there's the other thing getting like in trouble. Yeah.
Camp. What would camp normally do?
Camp would just normally probably come and take your shit and leave you a fine. You could get a cultivation charge, but it's not like the same thing as I guess if you're like.
Would they rip up all the plants or cut them down or burn them or whatever? They destroy all your plants.
Rip them up. They've got. I mean, they go depending on the size of it. They could be in there for days.
Wow.
With helicopters taking it out and nets, and then they go burn it and shit. There's some big, it's like
one of the greatest expenditures by government ever, for sure. Yeah.
I wasn't here in, was it, I guess, 91 or 92, Operation Green Sweep, but that was George Sr. And they were like literally going through here hand in hand through properties and just ripping shit up.
That's right.
That's when prices were like
that was
through the fucking roof.
H.W. Bush, when he was running around in Panama too, that whole thing to show that he was the biggest drug warrior. That's when they really came down hard up here. That's right. And that was before you.
Yeah, it was like the early 90s.
Yeah, I think the biggest stuff was before you got here. Yeah, but it was still
heavy.
Pretty...
I mean, when I got here, like, it was, they flew. I mean, like I said, my ranch, like, my one place, we would get flown. Actually, honestly, in Whitethorn, personally, I think I never really got flown that much. Not what I consider flown. Mm-hmm. I've been over where they come over, and then I've also been there where I'm like, okay, they're definitely here for us right now. Mm-hmm. Like, you're just sitting there like you got nowhere to go. You're just kind of looking at them like, hi. I've had them fucking like purposely blowing shit.
Really?
Yeah. Like I don't know if they're just like, you're just being dicks or like hovering above shit just to blow it. Mm-hmm. Like, and just make a fucking mess. Uh-huh. And like leave.
Harassment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And an announcement of who's boss.
Uh-huh.
Probably.
Every year.
Every year.
My one property, yeah.
So that's every grower basically.
Yeah,
That's what you go through.
It's like if you get some places.
What's the point almost, like, right? Because you're going to continue growing anyway, and you all did.
I mean, they get there. It's like when you get used to them. I'm like, my friend would be like, "Dude, they're here again." I'm like, they do this every year. I'm like, they circle the whole area for like. I'm like, they're just. I mean, maybe they're gonna try to think we're gonna. I'm not ripping them the fuck out. I don't give a fuck if they come here. Whatever. We got caught growing weed. It's fuck California.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm like, I ain't like.
In Pennsylvania, they killed. Did you see that story about that guy who got run over by a bulldozer by the cops in Pennsylvania? Your home state for growing weed in his garden. Oh. They had a tractor, like a what do they think, the cement or some sort of big tractor. And at night, they drove the tractor onto the property to destroy the plants. And the guy hid, and they rolled over him and killed him. That was just a few months ago in your home state.
They've got a video here of on their. They have an Instagram. I think the Humboldt eradication team has an Instagram account or some shit. And they show them driving a back or like a bobcat down the middle of like beds and just fucking whatever.
For why? Like, so you said there's tension. There's always been tension between the loggers, the logging community up here, and the growers.
Well, I don't want to like step out. I don't know when I moved here. Like I don't want to get too because I could be speaking out of like context in a sense. Whereas like I just from what I think like what I've told like when I moved here. Logging was kind of still going on, you know, and there was a lot of protests going on. And I remember one guy got killed when they cut a tree down. It landed on top of him. And so there was a lot of that, you know, and then like, I think this is when they passed that law when I first moved here was about cutting old growth trees. Mm-hmm. So, you know, but I think that whole logging thing with the community was pretty much before I got here.
Right.
Like the divide was, I just think the North County has always been like, I remember taking girls to like different events and like they just listened to the girls with the way they would jab at each other. Like you guys are a bunch of cow people and you guys are a bunch of pot growers. I was like, this is classic fucking 13-year-old girls already with the stereotypes arguing at soccer games. Like that's how I was like, oh, it is the truth that they say is like kind of more a little more good old I don't know. Like they're everybody's the whole county's
the two stereotypes, right?
Yeah. Like I'm just like it's funny.
And you're a soccer coach.
I was. That's when I first moved here. No, not anymore. When I first moved here, I got put into it
because you were a serious soccer player.
Yeah.
And you were even going to be a professional soccer player.
Would have been if there was the MLS. Yes.
At the time.
Yes.
But you were at that level, right? Yes. You were a national junior ranked or whatever.
Yes.
Can I say the position?
Sure.
Goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And you might have even made the Olympics team.
Possibly, but I got hurt and then started going to too many Grateful Dead shows.
Yeah. And listening
they made me sit out a year, so
and listening to too much Burning Spear.
Yeah. Wasn't much future in it then, so I was like, whatever, I'm gonna end up having to work anyway, so if you know,
that's true.
I was like, there was no like,
no, not a lot of future in soccer.
Wasn't like if I
for an American goalkeeper
graduated, whatever. It was like, all right, well, I still ain't paying me, so I'm gonna have to go to work. So I just was like, fuck it, like, I just watch it. It's easier. Yeah. I love the game, but no, it was cool. When I first moved here, I coached a girls team here, and it was fun. Like a lot of the local, like my neighbor came and just kind of confronted me. It was like. I was like, how many? It was like 17, 13-year-old girls. Whoa, it was intense. But it was fun. It was cool. It was like, it was a community thing. Like, it was nice because it's a small community here. So when you do the sports or like, you know, when they have the soccer season and basketball season here, it's a community day. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you get to the fields, everybody's there. Mm-hmm. So everybody who's got kids, from the little kids up to the little bit older kids, it's that whole day is like, you know, they got the stands and it's small town, you know, and the basketball, like every Saturday is like, it's an event. You have your kids, you go there for the day, whether they're playing or not. You can fucking schmooze, hang out, see everybody, but they'll all definitely be there type thing. You know, it's got their farmers markets here during the summer. It's a dope community. We get amazing music here. You got vineyards, you've got the best cannabis, you've got, you know, it's paradise.
I was going to say.
Really, it's you know, it's
I just hope they give us what we deserve, you know, like, because the best cannabis does come from here. When you get the guys that know what the fuck they're doing, the shit that comes out of here, because when I show dispensaries my shit, they're like, this looks like it. I'm like, I know what the fuck it looks like, dude. I know what I'm doing. Like, I mean, like, it's because I didn't go to school or nothing. Like, we're farmers, man. Like,
that's the other thing. You guys are basically inventing this stuff. I mean, you know, when I started, I was smoking in like the early 80s and it was still pretty weak and it was hard to get the kind of weed we get now. And then the growers started to do stuff like in the 80s, I think, early 90s, and it just took off. And you were part of that. You guys were the Wild West, obviously, because you didn't have professional chemistry labs and you didn't have people from
old hippies that went
just trial and error, right?
They went and brought strains back from all over the world on their, like, back in the 70s, like the old hippies going and doing that, like the Afghan trial through all the Middle East and doing their smoking opium, and they were all bringing back seeds and shit too, and you got all these strains crossed back into, like, it all came from here. And, like, you know, the dudes that have been here before us, my friends' parents that raised my friends my age here, like, they're the ones you want to fucking, like, they're the ones you're like, I want his seeds. I mean, they got that old shit that's like, these are the dudes that moved here with nothing. Like, they were like, we're going to, like, you know, you see some of the old farms that were raised, and some of my friends' parents are just like, yeah, they're the real fucking, like, 80 some years old, still rolling up fat. He's like, yeah, I don't give a shit. Like, and she's higher than I am. Like, he's kicking, man. Like, I don't see anything wrong with weed, man. Like, and there's kids everywhere, so we're all pretty fucking fertile. So it's like
everything's going all right.
Everything's good.
Yeah, you're all pretty healthy too. Yeah, people don't realize this. There are multi-generation families here in this business.
Yeah,
multi-generation. You know,
yeah, like I say, my daughter. I'll be the second of, like, you know, we're new and we've been here for 20 years, but we're still new.
You're relatively new. Yeah.
I mean, I'm considered, I think, a local at this point. But
20 years.
It's still, like, you know, I have a lot of respect for the guys. I would have, like, I saw some, you know, I was at a farm when I first came here in '89, and it was just like, that was cool, but I still almost would have liked to have seen, like, you know, the 70s. And like, where kids, when I was like 10, when my daughter was out there helping me, like, when my friends were my age, like, being out there, like, because that was cool.
So cool. Your daughter was working with you, on the farm.
I didn't hire anybody. I used to just work by myself. So,
and she was little. She left when she was 12, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think she started with carrying pots when she was 4. You know, trying to do the same way we were just dropping them. She just wanted to be with me, and was like,
of course,
you know. So it's cool. And now she's like, this summer she was helping me with my Instagram. So it's like totally changed to where, you know, years ago it was just like, kind of didn't want her to learn it, but I did because I needed her help more. It was like, oh, I got a kid in a certain age, I need your help, so let's go. And, you know, but when it was illegal, I didn't necessarily push for that for her future. You know, it was like, I don't really want you to have to worry about the shit I worry about. You know, I chose this lifestyle. You know, my family didn't raise me like this, so I came here. So I kind of wanted to give her that same, like, look, you know, it's here. Take this other opportunity, see what you think. And she wants to come back, you know, and I think a lot of it has to do with it being legal, because she was born and raised here. So she's very, you know, it's part of our community here. It's okay. You know, Our grow store is sponsored to soccer teams and all that stuff. And I think it's awesome. Where my daughter lives now, they wouldn't allow that, you know, be like, oh, God forbid. Like, what the fuck, God forbid? Like, it's, you know, but now she can do that. Like, now that she sees it to where she doesn't have that, like, I think she's into it now. And I'm more into showing her the future, because I didn't know what the future was before, you know? It was daily.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't want to say yearly. It was fucking daily at a certain point. Like, not just, I didn't ever worry necessarily about going to jail per se, but just losing everything, you know? Fines and shit like that, where you have to get rid of everything. Like, I wasn't, and just stuff I didn't want to see my daughter see, you know, and didn't think of me as something bad, which she never did. But when you hear everybody with the state, you know, you're gonna, you know, when you're a young kid, you go to one state and they, you know, blah blah blah, and they say all this, and it was like, you know, could never really talk when we were back east visiting people. It's just like, now I'm just like, tell them whatever you want.
So you chose to move her back to Philadelphia for the last couple of years because you've been so busy with the legalization thing, right?
It's too much for me to be there. I mean, it sucks. It's been horrible because I haven't seen her.
Like, you know, I used to see her a lot. And, like, I just left. Like, it sucks.
You just came back from there. Just now.
Just to go. Like, and it's just literally just to go. I don't really even get a chance to see her and parent because I have to be here to. That's why she's probably coming back because I just realized it's probably best to just have everybody here. And, like, if I'm going to do this, I want to do it as a team and as a family. So
She wants to be here.
Yeah.
She's 14 now.
Mm-hmm.
If she wants to be here, she wants to be here. She knows. She knows what she wants. Mm-hmm. Let her do it, man.
And I want to teach her. You know, it's like I want to be sitting down somewhere at some point. So I mean, I know my dad. If I was 14 and this is what we did,
yeah,
I can tell you right now, my ass would have been running that goddamn farm
straight.
My dad. I mean, I'm way easier on my daughter than my dad was on me. So now I'm like, okay, so now it's time for you to learn everything. Because
it can also be legal now. She won't have to have those anxieties that you had.
And she can, like I said, if I can build this brand, I got 5 years to. She'll be out of high school, and I have 5 years before big money gets here. So, you know, if it's built and it's working, then she's got something to look forward to here. Like, if not, you know, I want her to have something else. You know,
there's all these states that are going to be legalizing real soon. That's more market.
Yeah, and they're going to open up eventually the states will be opened up to, you know, I've got a cool thing, and if I can make it work, nothing more than it would be a dream come true to be able to legally hand my daughter my farm. Like, it's like,
that's it.
Never thought this would happen.
So perfect.
You know what I'm saying?
How perfect, right?
It's cool, you know, and it's like, man, my family's like it's, you know, it took a long time to switch like old school Catholic Italians to like, you know, he's on to something. Like, it took you guys this fucking long to fucking like, but it's only because somebody says it's a shame, because if it was still illegal, people wouldn't have that same conversation with me, you know, because it would still be like, oh, well, that's my cousin, but we don't, you know. Now they're like, oh, I want you to meet my cousin, whereas before I have a cousin. Like, it's different. Like, it's just because somebody told you, somebody said it's okay or whatever, dude, whatever. At least this is what it took to make you feel like I'm not nuts, then cool. Whatever. I mean, I'm glad, because it's...
Joe, none of it makes sense. No. Just let them do their thing, and we just try to survive until they finally come to their senses, right? It's right. They just don't know anything, and so they don't know about, they make fantasies about, and then next thing you know, we're like bizarre monsters, or you're a bizarre monster. You, for me, as a California kid, just right down the road, smoking your weed, probably at some point, you know, thought you would be a scary guy to hang out with.
No, that's probably when you watch that Murder Mountain shit.
I didn't even see that yet. So tell us. So I've been hearing all the cannabis people I've been hanging out with are all complaining about this thing. I guess that's on Netflix or something. Murder Mountain. It's about
the one request by some of my friends today was like,
do it.
You tell them that that's not us. Man.
Okay, let's go. Because I'm sure the listeners have seen this. I haven't, but go ahead. Tell us what the deal is. I don't even know.
I know the story. It's a section east of here. I mean, it's still part of Humboldt County, but there's some of the shit that was portrayed in there is not what's going on here. This is a strong, like, you know, it was like, you know, I've never been out there, and I've got friends that live out there, and it's not the whole community. It's not like that. But the way this movie was just like, I don't even know how to explain it, because I turned it off most of the time, because I was like, this is...
How is it portraying people
just
here?
Guns and fucking shitty fucking grows and nobody giving a shit. Like, just horrible. Just like just saying that this was like a place that you do not want to come to, when that's not
Humboldt. Yeah, generally, that's
like, I was absurd. Like, they didn't show the West Side at all.
That's absurd.
They didn't show anything. Like, they didn't show the Lost Coast. They didn't show where I live. They didn't show any of that stuff. They showed one little area and sat there and talked about the same shit about some... I don't even... Honestly, I remember when stuff happened, but I was like, I'm not...
So there was some murder here at some point?
Guess so, honestly. There was somebody who got killed or some shit, like, years ago on something, and blah, 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 blah. And I was like... Honestly, to me, it was a learning thing, because it's so removed from my daily...
Yeah.
I was like, I don't even know this shit's going on. Like, I was like, that's not... I said, our kids are playing soccer. Like, This is some shit that, like, why are you doing this? Like, you're just doing this to sell, like, you know, to where I get my 70-some-year-old Catholic aunt texting me saying, I'm like, come on, please tell me you didn't fucking watch it too? She's like, no, I didn't want to watch it, but it says, and I'm like, oh my God, like, Humboldt County's so big and it's just so wrong. I was like, it's just not.
This is where all the redwood forests are that tourists come to. This is absurd. I went to summer camp here. This is nuts. It's not. Trust me, it's not unsafe, and I'm not a reckless kind of guy. Even though I'm talking to you,
you can go anywhere and go find the bad of anywhere. You know,
of course,
but you have to go find it. And I'm saying, it's like this. You literally have to go find it.
I was gonna say the cities from where that documentary or whatever it was produced, I'm sure is far more dangerous than where we're sitting right now. Far more.
It's like, even if you say Philly and say, well, Philly's a dangerous, I'm like, no, I could take you to a section that if you are there, I can be like, first of all, why the fuck are you there at 2 o'clock in the morning unless you're buying crack or a fucking hooker or some shit? Then if you're over here, I'm like, it's just like anywhere. I mean, there's going to be good and bad, and they just decided to really focus on the bad.
Let me ask you another question I want to ask you. So, like, how have you dealt with, I don't know what you would call them, but like people who are not in the business over the years? Like when people, Americans, it's always the first question is, what's your name? The second question is, what do you do? Like, did you just generally hang out here and not deal with people who weren't in the business? Or what would you do in those situations?
Some place, at least in California, if you just say you're from Humboldt County, people just kind of assume.
Are you a grower? Yeah.
And I was just like, I never really got into it too much. I'm not a people person. I don't I don't drink. I don't go out. I go sit by myself. If somebody wants to come engage with me, I'm like, I don't even know why you're here, because there's just nothing for us really to talk about. Like, now I'm like, okay, you want to know?
Here, I see. Okay, yeah.
Like, it's just, that's the way it was. It's like, that's why I could never get in a relationship. I could get a relationship. I'm sure I could
with a woman
around here. Yeah. There's, because all the girls here understand but you go outside of here. I was in a relationship with somebody for 5 years and like didn't tell her for like the first 4 or 5 months, and then it was like, oh my God, I didn't know I was like doing such a bad thing when I told her. I was like, really? It's that bad? Oh my God. Like, you thought I told you I was like cooking meth or some shit. Like, I'm just growing some weed. It's not the end of the world. Oh my God. I would have never fallen in love with you. I was like, oh my God, really? Where are you from? Like, and she was from Oregon.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. It's just different.
She was from Oregon and she was freaked out by you growing weed? Huh. I don't get that. Because
I don't know.
Did she go to the ranch? She must have at some point.
Yeah, she was out of, obviously, like she would probably in 5 years came 3 times. I was like, you gotta be the only person that doesn't like it here. Like, yeah.
I don't understand this woman.
I don't know.
This is strange. 5 years.
She left. It's been 8 years since we've been.
So you've been single most of the time since your daughter was born.
Yeah. And
that's the way it is for you. That's better for you.
Yeah.
So maybe this way of life was just, you were just suited for this generally.
Like. Yeah, I mean, it's for me, like I said, is her mom, she was she always helped me out, but I'd never had I've been partnerless or whatever the fuck you want to call it for a long time. And it's like, I just, when I was doing what I was doing, I'm like, I don't want to sit here and go into this fucking stories with somebody. What do you do? I was like, blah, 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 blah. Like, I don't, like, if that's the start of your conversation, I got to go. And I just found out that I'm like, I just got to be single because people are always going to ask me what I do. Mm-hmm. And I'm just never going to fucking tell them. I'll just get up and walk away from everybody.
What about now?
Now I'm like, oh, you really want to know? Okay, cool.
Now it's kind of cool, right?
I would have sat there.
Now you have journalists coming and calling on you.
I mean, like when I was in other countries, I used to always tell people what I did.
Okay. That's interesting.
Because they were like, they just didn't look at you differently. Uh-huh. I go to South America, they don't look at you as an outlaw when they're like, oh, that's cool. Right. But like women that normally like I wouldn't be able to approach in here, and that's being stereotypical in a sense, but like in just like, here now it's funny because now I could be at I met somebody the other day at the Four Seasons to talk about weed. I was like, this is classic.
That's what all you guys are telling me this. It's like all these cannabis guys are telling me one day I'm dealing with basically a criminal. The next day I'm talking to like some hedge fund manager or some, entrepreneur, some consultant from some corporation.
That has no clue.
It's so weird. You guys are in such a bizarre, like, in between phase here, all of you guys.
Frustrating. They have the money.
I can only imagine
the way to get things everywhere, but
I can only imagine.
You're like, I know, but you don't know anything about this.
Almost every week I hear, like, just from my own dispensary, like some new regulation they have to deal with. Just that. It's ridiculous. But all of what you guys, and none of it makes any sense. It's all irrational. It's sort of like we're just trying to let people know that we do not completely condone this. So we're going to punish them in various ways, but we're going to let this happen. And none of it's rational.
Like jars, like you can only
taxes.
But you start looking at it, it's like, I get it. You can't just go buy 1,000 gallons of Budweiser and go put it in your own bottling. And I get it. It just would have been nice, like, if this was all discussed at the very beginning.
But like, people who know the business.
Like a normal, like, okay, here's the act. Like, even the building department here, when you would go there I would be like, what do I need to do on the state level? And they're just like, man, we really don't know. And I'm like, what the fuck does that mean, man? Like,
we don't know.
We love to be able to give you a checklist, but we just can't. And I'm like, well, then how's one supposed to check the checks? Like, I mean, it's just, it's mind boggling, you know. This new process under the 2.0, which is the second set of permitting, seems to be a little more smooth. I don't know. We'll see. I'm trying on one of my properties to see how smooth, but
man,
what remains to be seen.
I hope you make it, man. Because one of the things I want to do is like just pay respect and give thanks to you guys, because you really deserve it. And it's just a disgusting tragedy, crime that you're being driven out, or they're trying to drive you guys out, because you risked your freedom, you risked everything for us for a long time so we could get high. And that's not a small matter.
No,
that's not a small matter.
I don't think people realize it, but it's cool. You know, it's like, I don't want to like.
Nah, I want to acknowledge it, and I want to give you guys a voice. You know,
I think, you know, it's cool because all of us know up here what we did. Yeah. You know, and it's like, it's just it's cool. I thank you, because it's been a long time. and a lot longer, you know, for some people. Yeah, and it's getting worse for some. You know what I'm saying? It's like so hopefully this works out.
But you know what I'm really happy about? That your daughter wants to move back.
Yeah, I'm pretty stoked about it. I don't really like this. There's a reason why I moved out of where I lived, because even when I go back there, I'm just like, wow.
But the fact that your daughter wants to move back says a lot, not just about you, but about this place and about the life you chose.
Yeah, you chose
to leave Philly.
You can be here who you are without getting judged.
And she got to try Philly, and she was like, "No, Dad was right. I mean,
it's
back."
Not, you know, I don't want to talk bad about people, but that's just me. That's just my general opinion in a lot of places. You know, I've been a loner. I like it up here because I don't need to. If I don't want to know what day of the week it is, I don't have to. Like, if I don't want to engage in politics. It's just me. I got to make my farm work, you know, and that's what's important to me in raising my daughter. So it's like, to get into the bullshit that I can't sit there on a daily basis and worry about. Not that I do, but it's like, here I could just be me without getting judged, you know. And it's like, now I can go other places and it's cool and say what I do, you know, but it's like, still living there, it's not the same. You know, I still know how people are when it's still cool to know me, you know, when I go back there, but they're still like, it depends, you know. It's like, I'd be interested because I have like my 30-year high school reunion coming up. Like, I remember seeing somebody in the mall with my daughter, and he just like, I remember he look on his face when he was just like, I was like, yeah, I'm a cannabis farmer, and he was just kind of looked at me like, that just rolled off your fucking tongue, huh? I was like, fuck, like, what? Obviously you're in fucking finance or something. I don't know. I was like, but that's what I do. And he's just like, well, cool. Like, you know, I was like, I mean, like, you know, and it's, you know, it's funny because I just see on my Facebook just how people just, since I've been on Facebook, which has only been since I've been single over the past, it's like, just the reaction of who started talking to me, conversations that I've never, ever fucking thought would have even contacted me. Like, just out of the blue, like, I'm like, whoa, this is so weird that you're calling me right now. And I don't know why you don't think it's weird, but, you know, it's either financially driven because they think, oh, I got a friend that I grew up with, because I've had a lot of that. And I'm like, well, you can take on my debt, dude, because it ain't what you think, because that's what everybody thinks. And I'm like, I don't know if they're telling you the truth, dude. There's nobody up here banking money right now. So it's, you know, interesting. It's really fun.
Joe, man, thank you and best of luck.
Thanks.
This was the Unregistered podcast, and I'm Thaddeus Russell. To support the show and become a member of the Unregistered community, go to unregisteredunderground.com. To get information and to buy tickets to the Renegade University weekend events in Los Angeles and Washington, D.C., go to thaddeusrussell.com/courses. Thanks for listening.